Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends Amy Krieger.
Hello.
Paul Krieger.
Hey, everybody.
Derek DeBoer.
Hey, now.
And our producer, Mr. John Sakari.
Hello, everyone.
And just before we get started, a reminder that this show, along with all of our DVC content, is brought to you by the World of DVC, which includes DVCResaleMarket.com, where you can get a great deal on your next DVC resale contract from someone just like Mr. Derek DeBoer. DVCRentalStore.com, where you can rent out your points or rent points to try before you buy. And they do an amazing, that whole process. I said it on the last show, I rented points for Grand Californian. That was my first time renting from you guys. That whole process was absolutely flawless.
Thank you.
Absolutely flawless.
We want to make it as easy as possible, whether you're a guest or a member. You know, you shouldn't take a lot of work to do what you need to do.
It's interesting you say that because, I joke around. I call Monera Financial the crack dealer of the DVC world. That's the other sponsor where they finance your DVC contract. But I've now done business with Monera. I've done business with Rental Store. I've done business with Resale Market. And I can honestly say it is so easy. It is so easy. It's such a well-oiled machine, the way it all works. One of the reasons I'm proud to have them as sponsors of our show. I'm also a client. I also put my money where my mouth is. I don't tell you to go do it, and then I won't. Okay?
Working with us right here.
That's true. That's true. And that cannot be, okay, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. No, they really are first rate across the board. I'm a client as well as they sponsor these shows, but I couldn't be happier to be a client. And they've earned my business. I wouldn't think twice. All right. So this week, we're going to do something we haven't done in a while. Our famous Sucks Doesn't Suck show. Everyone at the table has paddles that have these on them. I am going to throw out a topic, and everybody's going to hold up one paddle or the other, and then we'll talk about why they chose what they chose. To give you an example, let's say the lack of AP options for DVC owners. And let's take a look around the table.
This game is easy.
That's how that works. Well, it's not going to be that easy. We have some good ones in here. So that's how our little process works here. So getting started. Let's start with what we were talking about right before the show. Boulder Ridge.
Mm-hmm. But
Go ahead. You got to make a choice.
But the overall resort, or are we talking about the rooms, or
Let's talk about how you feel about the resort right now.
All right. It pains me to do this.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Sorry.
3 sucks and 1 doesn't suck.
Okay. So, Paul, why does it suck?
It sucks because essentially owners at Boulder Ridge have been waiting now 5 years. Who knows? We've lost count of the amount of time that resort has been jumped over for refurbishment options. Other resorts have been moved ahead so that they can sell more points at them and all this other mumbo jumbo. And it just, it feels, I've always said it just feels like an old camp, and I'm in an old cabin, and that's not what I want from Disney, especially when you have Copper Creek right next door.
Right.
And Derek, you agree?
100%. Paul's right. I love the resort. That's why it pained me to, put the suck paddle up, because I love the resort. I love the lobby there. There's so many little nooks and crannies to sit in, and it's woodsy, except it all falls apart when you go into your room. And you walk into that room and you're like Paul said, it makes me sad. Like it makes me sad when I walk in that room. Any of the rooms, especially because like you said, Copper Creek is right there and those rooms are stunning. Boulder's just like sitting over here going, hey, what about me? You know, I could use some love and some updating and all this. So yeah, you just see it and it just makes me sad when I'm in those rooms.
Amy, you're in the suck camp?
I am. Right now, it sucks right now. The hallways, I feel like I'm in The Shining when I walk through the hallways. The rooms, like the couch is like an old stained up orange. Like it looks like it belongs in my grandma's basement underneath shag carpeting. Like that's how bad it is.
Love you, Grams.
And if I were, you know, because we're members and we have brought family members to stay. And if I were bringing family to stay there right now, I would be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed that I'm a member, you know, trying to bring them to a deluxe resort, and that's what it looks like. And so it needs a refurb like 2 years ago. And they started pulling the dues out. I feel like, you know how like they kind of like they have like reserves, you know, the dues go up. And this happened like 2 years ago. And they're still waiting. So I feel really bad for the owners there right now.
They built the test rooms 3 years ago. You know, we've gotten small glimpses of what they look like. They're going to have the same pulled out Murphy beds that the others do. And it's just like, it's been delay after delay after delay. And the only thing that makes sense is, you know, they were refreshing the standard hotel rooms at the Poly. And then they were like, oh, while we're here, we could just go right next door and hit those DVC rooms. And now they're doing the same thing over at the Grand Floridian. It was, you know, they refreshed all the rooms at the Grand Floridian, and now they're working on the new Grand Floridian building over there as well. And so I just feel like it's getting jumped for the
there. It's just hidden in the woods. It's like, don't forget about me.
At this point, it's so dingy that I feel like they're going for Haunted Mansion. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what they're like. That they could do that. That would work.
Gee, I can't understand why our Boulder contracts aren't flying off the shelf today.
That's the refurbishment they're going for, Amy.
Well, I held up my doesn't suck sign. I agree with you that the rooms are in need of desperate need of refurb. It was 2 years ago when I had my welcome homestay. That was my first contract. My very first contract with DVC was a 270-point Boulder Ridge contract. And I had a wonderful stay there with my mom. We have a video of that up somewhere. We'll find it. Panda, we'll find that and link it in the description below. And I think because of that, I can't bring myself to say Boulder Ridge sucks. It's personal. I get it. It's not, everything that they have said here is absolutely accurate. They're not overstating how bad these rooms are, okay? And how desperately that resort needs a rehab. But I can't bring myself to say Boulder Ridge sucks. I just can't. It holds a very, very special place in my heart. Like I said, my first contract, my first stay at a DVC resort.
You always remember your first.
Exactly. And my mother was there.
It's true, right.
My mother was there. And we have this wonderful, I have this wonderful memory with her. Mm-hmm. And even though she walked around that room, she was like, okay. My mother used to be a housekeeping manager for a Sheraton in Eatontown, New Jersey on Route 35, if you know the area. She was the housekeeping manager for that hotel. And my mother is very particular about that stuff. She's also an immaculate person, which why she goes crazy when she walks into my house. But I think just, you know, and I got an email a few days ago from someone who said they stayed at Boulder Ridge. They weren't members. They stayed at Boulder Ridge, and while the rooms definitely needed work, they fell in love with the resort and bought a contract. There is a charm to that resort. Mm-hmm. There is a charm to that area that I can look past to a degree. I can look past the condition of the rooms knowing they will be eventually refurbed. They will eventually be refurbed. When, I have no idea, but it will happen. And when it does, it's an absolutely gorgeous gem of a resort.
Got two great pools, and you got Geyser Point Restaurant right there. That's why it pained me to lift up the suck sign on.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
And I think that the value will increase once that
100%.
refurb has completed and people see the value there. But right now, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Especially since we have no real communication on when this refurb's starting.
That's why you ought to get in now and get Boulder Ridge. Get in now. Because I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think the value of it is going to go up when they rehab those rooms.
Look at Saratoga.
That is exactly what happened. People started
100%.
noticing and saying, you know what, it's beautiful there, it's affordable. I'm gonna buy there instead. So you're right. Now would be a good time to buy.
Now's a good time. And fortunately, we've got people sitting around the table who are more than happy to help you, either finance it or buy it or both.
Just don't stay there until the refurb's done. Just wait.
Or if you stay there, go in knowing that the rooms need rehab. The rooms need rehab. But there's a charm to it. There's a charm to it that for me, very personal. Like I said, I'll be very upfront about that. It's a very personal reason why I love it. But I don't disagree with what's been said. All right. Let's switch over to...
He's looking at his big list.
I have a huge list. Let's look over at Grand Floridian, the new resort rooms. The new resort rooms are getting ready to open.
Pretty.
4 for 4.
We have a unanimous verdict on that. Those rooms are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And I was able to get a room on opening day when they open up in a few weeks.
2 weeks out. So
Is it 2 weeks already?
if they finish construction,
June 20th.
we might have to wear hard hats while we sleep, but we'll be there.
But I'll tell you, the tour of that room almost got me to buy a contract there. I added on to my Riviera instead, but I was this close. But those rooms were absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and I think
Absolutely stunning.
they'll appeal to a different group of people as well. It's the same reason why people love the Polynesian and love those rooms. A little bit different. They're going to be a little bit smaller than the Polynesian, but that studio price point is what people always go after. And then like people like Amy and I, it's just the two of us, and that's all the space we need. And this provides us even more opportunities to get into a resort we own and a resort we love and that we call home. As compared to the current Villas Association, which is just so small, so it becomes extremely challenging to get the rooms you want when you want. So
Yeah.
I think it's definitely needed. It's helping. The thing we're really seeing on the rental store side of things is it's really helping alleviate some availability issues that we've really been seeing for the past 2 years as a result of the influx of points from the pandemic and all of that. It's really just starting to allow people the opportunity to go in a time frame in which they weren't gonna potentially be able to go, and so that inventory was much needed as well.
That's huge. I mean, I was going to say a big reason, in addition to the rooms themselves, is it doesn't suck, because I went online last week. I think I was telling Paul, and I just kind of threw in, because we live so close, so I'm not going to plan 7 months out or 11 months out. So I just threw online and said, what's available at the Grand for the month of July? And I was shocked. It was almost the whole month was available in these new villas right there. So I was like, that made me happy just being an owner. I don't own there, but I was like, my God, if that's good availability? Because again, the Grand was always the smallest DVC at Walt Disney World, so it was always hard to get in there. So this helps, which is great.
And they've only released 100 of the rooms so far.
Yeah.
So the whole second half of availability is still sitting back there, waiting until they've sold enough points. Now, granted, that availability go away as more and more people buy into the resort, but I definitely think just overall, it's a larger number of rooms, a large enough number of rooms that it's really going to help, hopefully, overall with Disney Vacation Club and that availability problem we've been seeing for a while.
Well, let's ask the question slightly differently on this next one. This continues a trend that started with the Polynesian, carried over to the Wilderness Lodge, now being done at Grand Floridian, where they are taking existing hotel rooms and converting them to DVC. So the conversion of hotel rooms to DVC rooms sucks, doesn't suck. Okay, we do not have unanimity here.
No.
We have 3 doesn't suck, but Paul.
Explain yourself, Paul.
Explain yourself, Paul.
It's the easy thing to do. And I think that's what I come back to on that is this is the easy thing to do. They know people like it, but it doesn't allow them to be imaginative and harness what Disney has done for so many years, which is be creative. And there are creative ideas that they've thought about for this area around Seven Seas Lagoon. There are creative ways that they could really sort of help add more value to Disney Vacation Club. And I worry long term what this is going to do to the overall experience at some of these resorts, because it is going to put more stress on transportation, on eating, dining, all of those things. And I just wonder if those are being overlooked for the almighty dollar in this case, which is, it's easy for them. It's super cheap for them to flip this room or flip this building over at Grand Floridian. And so they're going to make so much more money that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did at Animal Kingdom when it first went on sale. It was the Animal Kingdom Lodge. And they basically said, all right, we're going to build Kidani next door, but in the meantime, let's just take the top 2 floors of the Animal Kingdom Lodge Hotel.
See, I love that because the whole thing with DVC for me is that I get a chance to stay at these resorts that I otherwise am not going to pay cash prices to stay at. Like I cannot pay $700-800 a night to stay at Grand Floridian. So them taking this, what was once a hotel building, and making it into DVC, now we can stay in that building and it's got a fantastic location. It's got great views, and now it makes it more attainable for us. And I hope they do the same thing with Yacht Club. And honestly, I like it. I hope they keep doing it.
Yeah, I went the doesn't suck route because I think there are aspects of it that are positive. I think it does open up more studios for availability. And as any DVC member who has ever tried to book a room knows, hardest rooms to book are studios. Those are the ones with the lowest price point.
Studios with the worst views are always the ones that go the fastest because they're the least amount of points.
Least amount of points. And I'm a fan of anything that opens up inventory. But I also see them, let me wait on that for a second. And anything I think that expands the DVC universe is ultimately positive. And I just wonder how the resort general managers feel about having their rooms pulled out of inventory for, nightly guests to be used for DVC. I would wonder how, I don't think if I was the general manager and revenue was my bottom line, I got to wonder how that looks ultimately to the resort, to the GM in terms of the revenue they make. But let's ask this question. Because, one of the great limitations of the Poly, for example, all studios, no 1 bedrooms, no 2 bedrooms, no grand villas. They're addressing that with the addition of the announcement of the Polynesian Tower. So, what do we think about the Polynesian Tower? We are unanimous yet again. Even though, Paul, it looks like they just took the idea for Reflections and just moved it across the lagoon.
100%. Amy and I, we've been vocal before. Our first experience that we had at the Polynesian didn't sit well with us. It didn't really make us fall in love with the Polynesian. But I think that this addition to the Poly is really just going to help refreshen the resort as a whole. The refresh that they've done to the standard hotel rooms at the Polynesian, those look gorgeous. The refurbishment that they've done to the light, I think they called that a refresh as well, that they did to all of the DVC rooms, that helped sort of make us love the Polynesian more. So, the opportunity to then buy into the new Polynesian Tower, I think is going to be great. A lot of the critics of it say it feels too much like Reflections or it feels too much like a Marriott, but that's the direction that deluxe hotels are going in these days. Right. And, if they are wanting to appeal to that crowd, which they are, that's sort of what they need to make the experience like. So I'm excited to learn more about it. Again, I feel like just waiting with bated breath sort of for more information to be dropped. Hopefully we get some later this year about just the amenities that are going to be there, maybe what the interiors look like, but I'm excited about it.
Amy, you agree?
Yeah, I think Paul's right. This whole tower concept is kind of here to stay with DVC. And so, if they're going to do it, they do it well. Take one look at Grand Destino at Coronado Springs, and it's spectacular. It's beautiful. And that's a moderate level. So, I'm really interested to see what they do.
That's a good point.
With this Polynesian Tower. I think it's going to be beautiful. I think it's going to have amazing views. And, a lot of owners, one of the biggest complaint is what you said. It's just studios. So it looks like this will add other room options as well to this resort.
Derek?
I am excited about how it's going to look and fit in with the overall theming for the area. I remember when they did the villas at the Grand Floridian. And I remember the days of when you used to be able to walk from the Poly all the way to just the Grand Hotel, and it was just huge expansive beach, and there was maybe the wedding pavilion there, but there was nothing. It was just beach and open space. And I remember thinking, oh my god, it's going to ruin the whole area when they build the villas at the Grand, because they're going to kind of shoehorn it in there. It looks perfect to me.
Looks great.
So to me, I just think yes, it's going to be some getting used to it, especially during the construction phase, but I think in the end, when it's all done, I think like Paul and Amy said, to anything that gives you more room options, because if anything about the Polynesian, I hear from guests every single day. It's like, we love it. We're thinking about buying there, but we need 1 bedroom. We need 2 bedrooms. We don't need the over the water bungalows. So that's where I think anything that gives people more options to be able to have that, more availability. And again, being able to stay at a place like the Polynesian. It's like you said, Amy. When I bought DVC way back when, we used to stay at, Dixie Landings, it used to be called, Port Orleans. And it was like, $120 a night or something like that. We bought DVC. And that got us into being able to stay at places like the Boardwalk, because I never would have stayed at the Polynesian, and spend $600-700 a night to be able to stay at these resorts. Yeah. So I think the more options you have, the better.
And I agree. I think that, when I see the design, the concept design, I'm like, all right, you're phoning that in. You're phoning that in. That looks...
Put some plants on the balcony and it'll look tropical.
Right. But I'm going to reserve judgment until it actually opens. And see what they do inside. Because that's really where it counts, the theming, ultimately. Mm-hmm. Where it really counts is what's inside. And let's be honest, Disney has a great track record with that kind of theming. So I'll reserve judgment on whether and I don't think they've gone that far off the reservation in terms of Imagineering that they're going to allow something that sticks out like a sore thumb, like you were talking about with the Grand Floridian Villas. I don't think they're going to do that. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this and kind of see where that goes.
Me too.
Yep.
All right. let's see. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get into some restaurants. Cape May Cafe. Oh, we have a split vote. We have a split
I thought I would be
vote.
alone. I'm not. So.
All right. Derek, why does it suck?
I could smell it from here. I can smell the crab legs and the
Oh, wait.
fish.
Did I say Cape May Cafe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
Oh.
changing on me?
What?
Hold on. Sorry. Sorry. I was thinking Grand Floridian Cafe.
That's what I thought that was an odd choice when you said doesn't
I
suck.
was thinking Grand Floridian Cafe.
I was like, oh, you like seafood all of a sudden.
Like, what happened?
Sorry.
Changed
Yeah,
overnight.
I had to change my vote. She stands alone. She's there by herself with her doesn't suck sign. Why doesn't it suck?
Breakfast, $25. Like, I don't need to say anything else, right? Like, $25. That's cheap, right? That's how much we spent for breakfast.
Yes, and I will agree.
Not even including
For-
DVC discount.
For a buffet breakfast price, if you're looking for a steal of a breakfast, but that's not like what it's known for. Like it's
Okay, but it
But-
was a decent. We just had breakfast recently for Paul's birthday. Not on his birthday. It was like a weekend trip that we went to Beach Club and we had breakfast there, and it was a decent breakfast buffet. And it was on the bill came, and I just could not believe that it was $25.
But
Does it still smell like fish for breakfast?
That's my point.
it sticks with you.
I used to love the dinner buffet, and I love the all-you-can-eat crab legs, and I do miss that, and that has changed because the buffet's back, but the crab legs are an extra fee, and you don't get very many. And so I will say that the dinner is not the same, but breakfast is a good value. It really is for what it costs. It was a decent breakfast. There's an omelet, like build your own omelet where they make it right there in front of you. So I can't say it sucks based on that.
Can you imagine being in one of the rooms that are like right above it?
No. Every time I do that walk, like walking from, the beach club and then all the way through and like you're headed over to Beaches and Cream, it hits you. And you're going to enter that hallway and it's like, there it is. And it just permeates your skin. And especially towards the evening time. And it's just, I just can't
Well,
stand it.
especially as a non-seafood eater.
Oh,
As a non-seafood eater. I can't speak to what the seafood is like. When people have told me, not very good. I would tell you the non-seafood is horrendous. Horrendous. I mean, breakfast may be great.
It's cheap.
she didn't say great.
Cheap.
She
I
said
thought it was
it wasn't
cheap.
too bad.
I'm talking about dinner. I'm talking about dinner. Dinner was atrocious.
Yep.
And, used to be all you could eat crab legs. Now it's not.
That's the big kicker for me.
That
is the fact that they,
that does that part sucks. That
yeah,
sucks.
especially that they're. I mean, I believe. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's around the same price point that it was with the all you could eat, and then you've got to add on crab legs, and then you've got to add on the lobster if you want to add on the lobster. Like it's just
So what kind of seafood do you get then? What, just like fried shrimp?
fried
and like,
clam strips and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, yeah.
all right, let's look at another restaurant. Steakhouse 71. Come on. Go ahead.
I'm afraid you're going to ask me to leave. Oh, good, Paul. Thanks.
We have a
We'll leave together.
We'll leave together. We'll see ourselves out.
We have a split vote. We have a split vote. All right, Paul.
For me, it comes down to quality and recent experiences a little bit with service. We've experienced it both several times for dinner, once for breakfast, twice for breakfast. We've been to breakfast. And at least in terms of dinner, I feel like opening was great. Like if we were sitting here like after it opened, that month, 2 months, 3 months around its grand opening, it was cooking on all gears. It was doing well, but I feel like something has changed in the kitchen. Quality, I think, of some of the cuts have gone downhill, or at least how they're cooking them. We've ordered prime rib multiple times, and what is medium rare one day is extra well the next day. So it's just for me a consistency thing right now, and then also just some mixed service experiences a little bit as well. So,
okay, and I've been hearing this. See, and I can't go by my experience because they know me, right? They know me. If I'm there, my food's going to be cooked perfectly. My service is going to be excellent. So,
Paul, they just don't care.
Paul, they don't care so much about.
I told you what to get, and you didn't listen to me.
That is true. That is true.
True fact.
But I've been hearing a lot about consistency issues from many people, not just you. So there's an issue. There's an issue. I can only speak to my experiences, and I love the restaurant. I love the people that work there. So I'm being a little biased. But I stand by my vote.
I don't think it sucks. I like it, and there are some really good menu items, and they're still serving the pork belly or the steak and eggs. Bacon and eggs, and the burger is legitimately one of the best burgers on property, the one that's for lunch, and there are some really good stuff. We have had some inconsistencies, but I'm not ready to cast it in the sucks column yet. It is a table service. It is not, a signature restaurant. So I'm trying not to, I want to hold it to a good standard, but I do think that we shouldn't judge it based on, signature type. I don't know. I like it. I'm not ready to say it sucks yet. I still think it's very good and has a lot of promise, and I hope that the consistency gets better.
Okay. Derek, what about you?
So I went for the first time for lunch, met up with a great member of DVC fan. We met up for lunch during her vacation. Me and Marissa went. It was my first time there. She had been there before. I don't like the ambiance at all. Honestly, it just feels like a hospital cafeteria to me. So the ambiance doesn't do much for me.
What hospitals are you visiting?
Magical ones.
Magical ones with Disney pictures on the wall. I did text Paul before and say, I'm here. What should I get? He told me to get the burger. I did not listen to Paul. So I think it was crab cake sliders that a second they brought them down, it just had a funny smell. Not like Cape May Cafe smell, but it had an odd smell, which is what you normally think of this seafood might smell a little odd. Don't put it in your mouth and eat it, but I did. It didn't agree with me. Our service was very nice. Again, the company was fantastic. Marissa and Mary both got the burgers, and they said hands down it was the best burger that they ever got their whole entire life. So I think I just ate the wrong thing. So I'm willing to give it a second chance if Paul and Amy will take me out for lunch. But my first experience there was not good. And I was very disappointed because I was really looking forward to it based on everything you've said and you guys have.
Okay, wait, Derek. Why did you ask Paul what you should order and then order crab cakes? It tastes like crab. I'm changing your name here to Karen.
Yeah.
Great, I'm going to be branded the crab cake guy from now on. No, I just wasn't in the mood for a burger. So I was just kind of like, you know what? The crab cake sliders sounded like the thing I wanted to go with. I think I saw someone else had them on another table. They looked happy. So I was like, I'm going to be like that guy. I'm going to get the crab cake sliders because everybody else got a burger. I regretted it instantly. So hopefully I will be able to give it another try again because I do want to try it. Because again, I love the location and it's kind of pretty inside when you walk in and see all the old Disney pictures.
Yeah,
it's just
the cafeteria pictures.
But just the second once you sit down, I just didn't like the atmosphere. But like you said, Amy, it's not a signature dining restaurant, so I have to forgive them of that. But yeah, it sucks for me.
I love the artwork. It's is it like Mary Blair style? I think it looks really nice. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a beautiful restaurant. I think it's a wonderful addition to the Contemporary. And like I said, I have to be honest. I've been hearing a lot of reports from people saying it's been a very inconsistent experience. So I have to be fair about that. I mean, I am biased toward that restaurant now, and I will openly admit that I love them. I love the restaurant. I'm biased. But for me, it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck. But that, folks, is going to do it for this week's episode of our show, We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week with another edition of the DVC show. Have a great week, everyone.